I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
This is Fish Jelly.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. So we have to just get into it right away.
Oh, God.
Because we received many messages, links to articles, updates on this Tyler Perry sexual assault case.
Well,
for people who don't know, actor Derek Dixon, a regular on Tyler Perry's BET drama The Oval, filed a $260 million lawsuit on June 13th, alleging that Perry used his power to coerce him into unwanted sexual encounters, from suggestive texts to groping and assault at Perry's home, and retaliated professionally when Dixon resisted. So, I mean, the lawsuit contains a lot of cites a lot of examples in text messages, which I did look at a lot of them. I also watched maybe like 20 YouTubers' reactions to it, which I wanted to get to. But first and foremost, these are just allegations set out in a lawsuit. Nothing has been substantiated. So I feel like to talk about it, like people are talking about it like these are facts, America, but we don't know.
Well, you know what's most shocking is that he's gone this long without having this kind of situation.
Well, I wanted to share something, and you said I already shared it, and I don't remember, but I think it's relevant because there's so many things I want to say. But I guess I have said this before, but I have spent with Tyler. I have spent time with Tyler Perry many times a long time ago, like 20 plus years ago. And during that time, I also had the opportunity to travel to see performances of the stage play he was doing. And I don't care enough to look up which one exactly because it's not that relevant. It might have been like Medea's Family Reunion.
This is pre any films.
This is pre Diary of a Mad Black Woman. So like 2003, 2004. So yeah. So whatever was playing at that time, I went to everywhere. Like I saw it in Vegas, LA, Phoenix, Oklahoma City, Houston, New Orleans, Miami, Chicago, DC, New York. So I did not know who he was before I met him the first time. And that's all I'll say about all of it, except that as a result of it, I became a really big fan. And then my life, so that was a 6-month period of things that happened. Okay. So then I move on, like my life changes a lot the year after. And then I see oh, wow, this guy is doing big things because he has this movie that's a success, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, his first film.
Well, he didn't direct that.
But it's a hit.
Yep.
And then he has his 2 TV shows on TNT, House of Pain and Meet the Browns. So I guess I'm sharing the story for a couple of reasons. One is I have an impression of this person. And then also when, we review a lot of Tyler Perry stuff and we always get really negative comments. Like, why are we always talking about him? Why are we so obsessed with him? We are a movie review YouTube channel and podcast, and he is a prolific filmmaker.
Right.
If Steven Spielberg shit out 6 things a year, we would be talking about those too.
Correct.
But most filmmakers have the good sense to take their time in creating their stuff. So it just so happens that Tyler Perry produces a lot of content. Also, we do well with talking about his content. Our most watched video is us rambling on for 3 hours about Beauty in Black. I think the YouTube video we've earned the most money on is Straw. Maybe. No, I don't know. Straw's up there and it's only 3 weeks old.
Wow.
So there's a lot of engagement. But so, yeah, so I talk about it because he makes a lot of stuff and people seem to like it. We also get, whenever we do a Tyler Perry video, those videos get more subscribers.
Okay.
So yeah, we do. But also I was a huge fan of his for, several years. But then the tides start to change a little because at first, after Diary of a Mad Black Woman, I thought, wow, this is amazing. this gay black man
Mm-hmm.
is finding all this success and being well received by his core demo, which are like black Christians.
Yes.
So I'm feeling like proud of it. And then it's like, oh, no, he is not a gay man. And all I'll say to that is, who am I to assume? Who am I to assume
Sure.
this person I had met many times is
Well,
not gay? But
it felt the climate was also different then. To be fair, there was no other black filmmaker that ascended so quickly and remained at his level.
Right.
And we have to remember that through the late 2000s, a lot of his films were like these were already productions he'd done on stage. So he's adapting his own work and kind of churning that out. So that all kind of seemed to make sense.
Well, and I think also that it makes sense that he might have a reason, like many artists have done throughout history, that they keep their sexuality to themselves or even lie about it.
Yes.
To protect their brand, their business, their career. So that makes sense to me.
And, in reality, we don't deserve access to people's intimate details.
No, we don't.
So, but he, like Jodie Foster, Queen Latifah,
But I think where the tides turn for me is the quality of his work
kind of regressed.
I think a big part of it is there's no time or care taken to anything. But also the depictions of like queer characters in his content started to feel a little like,
well, they didn't exist for a minute.
And then they start to pop up and it's like, oh, this doesn't feel good. This feels like whomever is writing this is homophobic. And this is over decades now that it's like, I don't know, this person who's not gay, it seems like their relationship to gays feels really weird.
Well, especially since he's working with the depictions of black queer men and how that can come across.
All the way, I mean, people can listen to our Beauty in Black season 1 recap. I mean, I don't know how many times we said, like, this feels like the musings of a conservative, closeted gay black man.
Mm-hmm. Airing out kind of his repression.
Enrico Ross plays a character that, to me, someone who knows nothing, feels a lot like Tyler Perry. Uh-huh. So it's like, oh, you're telling on yourself. I don't know. But so I think, I just bring that up to say that I used to really like Tyler Perry, but then I just feel like his work, the messaging is weird and like of poor quality. And then I think the thing that bothers me the most is that he presents himself as some sort of messiah. He acts as though he's like been chosen.
Yes.
To be this voice of a people. And it's like, I don't know. I think in light of a lot of things that I guess are speculation, it just feels like you're living this double life, duplicity. And now streaming on Netflix. Or no, that's Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Well, especially because he tends to favor miserableism and trauma porn. There's a lot of tropes that are at work in his dramas and what I guess you could call erotic thrillers.
I've been saying this for years. And as someone who knows nothing, what does Tyler Perry know about like relationships? So the fact that like his writings are so heavily infused with like relationship advice and how people should behave. And he himself, like the actual individual, not the characters he plays, has said that, especially when he did that interview with Keke Palmer and talked about highbrow Negroes should shut the hell up. And he talks about how working class Black people use his writing as therapy because I guess they can't afford therapy or like this, not everyone is fully downtrodden, like, but so I think the fact that he, sometimes when like entertainers, athletes get caught up in some bullshit, it's like they aren't role models. They didn't sign up for that. Mm-hmm. And I agree. They didn't sign up to be a role model. I just wanted to throw this pigskin and make money and get bitches. That's all I wanted to do. And you know what? I agree with them.
A lyric by The Weeknd.
That was a Joseph original. But then it's like Tyler Perry fashions himself as this like moral compass and this fountain of a good word or three. So I just think that if this is true, it's interesting, but here I cut you off. Continue.
No, I don't mean to, maybe you don't really want to go into other details or aren't remembering them, but from your time spent with Mr. Perry in the early 2000s, I remember hearing about an instance where there was a questionable reaction to a clearly queer, flamboyant person.
I would not share that story.
Oh, okay.
But what you're saying, yes, I do remember that. Mm-hmm. But okay. So then the videos, I'm trying to avoid talking about the actual lawsuit because again, none of that is substantiated. So there's no point.
But the text messages were released.
Right. But I mean, you can fake text messages. You can assign a name to any phone number. And
sure, of course.
So I'm just trying to be fair. I'm going to get to it though. Okay. But first I wanted to start with the 20 videos I watched of people talking about this. And most of them it was like split, male, female. And then of the male, half were gay. And for the most part, I was really disappointed in what I was hearing. And I want to highlight one in particular because Don Lemon and Jason Lee went on like I think the same day or the day after and just went on. And I already think Don Lemon is so suspect and so fake. And he did something similar to how he talked about Wendy Williams. He's like, well, Tyler Perry and I are friends. Well, we've exchanged text and, I blah, blah, blah. And then Jason Lee, who, if people don't know, is like he's like a TV personality and he has a platform that basically he just gossips. He is trying to start like some sort of award show. And so he's like, I'm friendly with Tyler Perry. My award show, we're trying to honor him. So I'm actually like right before this lawsuit came out, I was actively going back and forth with his people trying to organize like if he's going to accept this award. And so it's like, okay, well, there's a conflict of interest. You both are like, they fully said that we are Tyler Perry stans and that both of these people, one of whom is educated, like Don Lemon is supposed to be an investigative journalist. He said that he read through the entire lawsuit and all the text messages, which so did I. Mm-hmm. And both of these people fixed their mouths to be on camera and on mic saying that there was nothing in this lawsuit that they found problematic. And I just think that is insane. And like hearing, particularly Jason Lee, he said some other things. I am fully expecting that within 12 to 18 months, he's going to be sued for the same thing. I just don't understand. So most of the reactions I heard were cash grab.
That's always the assumption. Yeah.
That's always the answer. But the reality is like, it could be a cash grab and it could be true. And also every time y'all get into a car accident, you try to get money. Every time your auntie would slip and fall at Walmart and try to get money, everyone would do that.
Right. And 260 million, that's a cash grabby tune.
It is, but it doesn't negate the fact that if this is true, it's wrong.
That's true. But the thing is, he's very high profile. To go this far with it from a team of lawyers, presumably, means they think they can get something.
The purpose of damages is to hurt someone, right? Like hurt it where like how you can. So it's like
right
to have Tyler Perry have to pay someone $2 million under the table. That's nothing.
Exactly.
That's like me giving someone $20. Mm-hmm. So you have to go for something. You have to go for the gusto, right? Also, everyone always says like cash grab to these high profile situations. Regular people don't find themselves in these kind of lawsuits because if Earl down at the AutoZone is harassing his female employee, what is she going to do except try to sue AutoZone? But then, so this is what I want to talk about because I think that it's the same rhetoric every time this happens. And I find it so funny that a lot of men's misogyny and their own toxic behavior still trump their homophobia, because not one of the 12 men I listened to and 6 who were straight, not a single straight one used the word homosexual or gay, didn't even reference it.
Of course.
And then
It's uncomfortable.
And then of the gay ones, only one basically said, like, obviously he's gay, and kind of had similar talking points to what I think I would have. And then the women were a little more comfortable saying, like, he's gay.
Well, I think even if we're going to have the assault allegations being parsed through and up in the air, what is most damaging to Mr. Perry is that this provides evidence that, yes, I would say that he is, despite protesting too much in the opposite direction.
God, there's so much I want to talk about. I don't want this to be a 3-hour episode, but so what I was most disappointed about with some of the women is that, so there's a platform called Baller Alert, and they wrote an open letter to Tyler Perry. And at first when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, like, what are they going to say to him? They actually wrote a really nice letter, basically saying that you should be able to live your authentic self. And if you're afraid that you think you'll lose us, it'll only, like, you won't lose us, we'll actually get closer to you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They actually said really nice things. But so I was very pleasantly surprised. But then some of the women who talked about this open letter didn't seem that positive. They seemed like, if he's gay, like, that's a problem, and he shouldn't be talking about all this Christian stuff, religious stuff, knowing that he's. So I think the connotation across the board is
exactly what has kept him in the closet.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so this is where I go off on tangents, because I keep thinking about our review of the Luther Vandross documentary, the one that Colin Firth and Jamie Foxx produced. Mm-hmm. And there were so many comments that I've deleted because they just annoy me. And it appears to be almost exclusively women saying, like, we don't care about his sexuality. It shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. And it's like, that attitude is exactly why someone like Luther Vandross.
But you know who it matters to? To him.
To him. It, like, I feel sad for him, thinking that he was never able to express his love outwardly, that whatever he was able, whatever morsels he was able to enjoy had to be private. And he doesn't get to enjoy the same freedom that you, person who commented that, did. Why? Mm-hmm. Because that's the feedback he's getting.
Yes. And it would be ruinous. And then you wouldn't have any more of his lovely voice, because you would have ruined him because he came out as gay.
So that's my next talking point, is I think this, like, it's a very dangerous combination to feel repressed or oppressed.
Well, because your sexuality doesn't go away, and what it comes up in strange, weird ways.
Well, we both have a lot of experience with men, and to quote Tyler's good Judy, Oprah, the one thing I know for sure is that men will. They're not going to sit on their fingers and just be like, oh, I guess this thing that I'm obsessed about and that I really want, and like I guess I can't have it until the day I die. I'm never going to satisfy it. No, they're going to find ways. And it's going to be weird. And it's going to be inappropriate. It's going to be predatory. Like,
yes. And the more it's out of reach, and also beyond just homosexuality, power is corrupting.
That was my next part of the combination. That not only do you have this repressed soul who's fiending for this thing that they feel they can't have, but then you combine that with $1 billion.
Oh, but I can have it.
And an infrastructure that will sort of hide it. Because then I was thinking, like, this will lead me to my next talking point, but just thinking, like, because then some people said, well, how come no one's saying anything? And it's like, well, there are a few reasons, which I get to, but one aspect is, like, people don't want to implode the thing that feeds them. Mm-hmm. So,
look at R. Kelly's little assistant,
like R. Kelly, like whatever. But then I thought, maybe the reason some people are having a really hard time not being super critical of this situation and saying that it's all fake and that no, it doesn't matter. And it's like, maybe you don't empathize with the situation because you haven't had to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you have dealt with it and you're
you're
just
a perpetrator of it.
Or you're the creep.
Yeah.
You're the predator. I have been sexually harassed at work more than a few times, and it was very blatant. Like, if you don't have sex with me, you won't have this job anymore. Or if you don't do this thing, sexual thing, I'll find someone else who will do it. So then it's like, well, what did you do? Well, nothing. And these were two different jobs where this happened. The first job, I was scared. And when you read these texts, these alleged texts from Tyler to Derek, I think it seems I can very much relate to having this. So the first job that I experienced this in, it was a very exciting job where I made a lot of money and I didn't want to lose it. And I was, I guess the word would be groomed to think like, if you don't do what you're told, you will lose this job.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually being told, like, if you don't do this thing that's inappropriate, then you won't have this job. So then it's like, well, it was easy to rationalize doing it. Like, well, I've done more for less. I don't want to lose my job. I make a lot of money doing this job. So I guess I'm just going to do what I'm told. And then I'm afraid to say anything because the environment is like, everyone's connected. If shit goes down, it's going to be all on me. Like, that was the energy. Like, so if I rock the boat, it's really just going to be me who's asked out. And then in the second situation it happened in, I really needed a job. Like, I needed the money and it was a weird time. So it was just like, it was just easier to deal with it than to do what? Like, I didn't have the bandwidth to what? Quit and try to file something with the EEOC or whatever, like Derek Dixon did, and then they didn't do anything. People were saying the timing of this lawsuit is coinciding with straw, but it's like, this man filed a complaint a year ago and worked on the lawsuit a year ago, but nothing was done.
How is it going to he puts out so much content. How is that coinciding with anything?
Exactly. But then I think, okay, so then there's that. Like, people don't say stuff because they're afraid, because they need their job, because they need they need the money, or it's their dream. Like, my dream's to be an actor, and this very powerful man just cast me in a show. And
if I file out with him, where am I going to find work?
And after he filed the complaint last year, he quit the Oval, but he had already filmed some of it. So he basically broke the contract. And so I was reading that him not finishing the Oval, he lost $400,000. So that means that he gets paid more than $400,000 to film a season.
Uh-huh.
So let's just call it $500,000 to film 16 episodes. In Tyler Perry world, 16 episodes is like 3 days.
Yep.
So it's like, you get paid $500,000 to work for 3 days. I'm being shitty, but probably not that far off. That's a sweet gig.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the other thing. I think certain types of people are accustomed to these advances. I think like women.
Well, deflecting them.
Deflecting them. I think women, obviously, and then of course the more sort of, I don't know the proper term, but the more attractive a woman is, I'm sure that they become very accustomed to that sort of attention and
navigating it, because
and navigating it in their way.
What those texts read to me are deflecting.
And then I think gay men, especially if you're a moderately attractive gay man and above, you are very accustomed to fielding, managing, and deflecting an ever-present, consistent, pervasive, like, just those texts seem very familiar to me. Like, extremely familiar.
Yeah, it's a dance. That he's dancing around the advances.
And I would say that I'm an expert in dealing with those kind of messages, and what he's doing feels very relatable to me. But these people I was listening to talk about, it's like, well, why is he doing that? Because it's easier to just play this game than to feel retaliation, which is what Derek Dixon is claiming ultimately happened, that when Tyler seemed to get fed up with him stringing him along, he wrote off, like he killed off his character. And so then that's when Derek felt like, okay, I have to kind of re-up this mild flirtation. And then that's when he wrote him back in. Also in the lawsuit, it says that Derek's character was written to be, because I don't watch The Oval, but apparently his character is like a hustler, or like he has sex with other characters to get things.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tyler told Derek that's what he wants. He wants sex from someone who he controls, and like they need him, like he wants to take care of someone in exchange for sex. So the other thing that I noticed a lot of people saying in these videos is like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with flirting? And it's like, Tyler Perry is his boss.
That's not flirting.
If you work at the DMV and your manager was treating you this way, you would, I mean, I would.
That's why there are laws about sexual harassment, because there's no equanimity there.
Right.
You can't say no.
Right.
Is how you're made to feel. And these kind of interactions, what this guy was doing with Mr. Perry, these happen on a much smaller scale over more minuscule things, that without even that power imbalance going on.
Also, this man, I don't know if it's confirmed if Derek Dixon is gay. I think he might be, or that's what I read, that like people are pretty sure he is. He's very attractive. He is certainly very accustomed to advances from men. So I read those texts as like, this looks like someone who's very accustomed to managing these advances, and he doesn't want to lose he's an aspiring actor who got a really sweet gig. And Tyler Perry told him that he would help him produce his own project.
Yep, that's dangling carrot there.
But you're dangling a carrot, and then he keeps pulling it back like, well, I could, because the one string is like, oh, I could show it to some person, I guess, as like a producer to a different platform. But then it goes back to the sexual talk.
Exactly.
This is like grooming 101.
Yes.
And I don't know. Maybe you are accustomed to it and you think it's normal, but it's not. It's not normal.
Quid pro quo, Clarice.
It's not okay, especially with, like you said, with that power dynamic, to behave this way.
No, because if Mr. Perry was being transparent and on the up and up, these conversations would be short and brief. I'm interested in producing your project. I'll show it to so-and-so, said and done. Like that's clear. It's clearly not what is going on.
I think we have to remember that, again, if these allegations are true, this is someone's employer basically using their influence and power to get sex from their employee. And if this were anywhere else, if this were at McDonald's or the light company.
well, the thing is, they also read as this has happened before. This interaction has happened before on Mr. Perry's end.
So people, because then there's Christian Keys, the actor. I forget which show he was on. I know him from Insecure, but he was on a Tyler Perry production. But he, like in 2023, went on some, I don't remember if it was a podcast or his own live stream, but he basically told a story of a very like powerful film and TV executive, a billionaire, who basically did the exact same thing that Derek Dixon is saying. Like, he invited me to his place, he made advances on me, I slept in the guest room, he tried to fondle me. Derek Dixon says that one time Tyler pulled down his underwear. I
mean, these are
and
things.
And then it's like, well, why were you in Tyler Perry's house in your underwear? Because I don't want to lose my job, because I want to get a project
Did we
done.
learn nothing from Me Too on all of these women that had to deal with Harvey Weinstein?
Right.
Like that is exactly what he was doing to women.
I'm just very disappointed. I hate that every time this happens, people's immediate thing is like, you should know better. It's a shakedown and a money grab. And why don't people say things sooner? And it's like, you try to have some empathy. Try to, even though no one's checking for you, try to imagine you were desirable to someone somewhere.
Have you never watched a crime movie?
Right.
Trying to do things sooner before you have the smoking gun. You need the smoking gun.
Let me tell you something. If anyone with a regular job found themselves in a similar situation, you would do the exact same thing. You would continue this song and dance to get more evidence so that you could then go and say, hey, I've documented this. This is what's happening.
Well, especially if the pressure is also mounting. I don't know. It's disappointing because, I assume that whatever ironclad NDAs Mr. Perry had going on, because I do believe he's gay, and I thought that a long time before this incident. I'm like, whatever he was doing, he must have found his rhythm to get it done, but I guess not.
Well, I was gonna say is, I think that with all the men I'm sure he's had similar relationships with, they were happy with the arrangement. They were happy with it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Sure, I'll have sex with you in exchange for this well-paying gig, or oh, you bought me a house, or you give me this money. There are some people who will be fine with that, and that's fine. But you cannot try to control people in this way. You just need to get yourself a prostitute. But like we already know, and like allegedly in these texts, Tyler doesn't want that. He wants to control someone. He doesn't want to just pay for a prostitute. He wants someone who needs, like they rely on him, like he controls them.
Well, the thing is also what happens is we as people become desensitized to the power we wield. And I would assume that after maybe many years of just paying for consensual sex, perhaps there's something. I think we are attracted to taboo. We're titillated and turned on by things that we're not supposed to be doing. So this is something that someone at his level is not supposed to be doing, that he has the ability to do so. So maybe that is part of it as well.
Anyway, I'm sure people will not agree with what I'm saying. The overall message is we shouldn't grab the pitchforks and the torches because we don't know if any of this is true yet. But
correct.
Just talking about him as a public figure and the persona he puts on and the way people stand for him, because I mean, some of the videos I watch are like, he does so much for the community, and it's like, okay, but he could still be a criminal. What does that have to do with anything?
That was the exact same rhetoric about Bill Cosby, though.
So it's like, why are you like?
Yes, but the thing is, none of us are good nor bad. We are all a mixture of everything. So yes, he can, on one hand, do great things for the community, but that doesn't forgive him abusing others.
Also, for all of his audience who turn a blind eye to his sexuality, it's like, what if he does come out? Then,
well,
then what are you gonna like? How are you gonna justify that? And then my final thought is like, what do I think next steps will be? I think that we'll probably hear from Tyler Perry. I assume that he's probably going to say that he has engaged in behaviors related to past trauma, because he's shared before, like that he was molested by a male family member. I'm assuming that he will make it a negative. I think he'll probably say that he's in therapy, trying to work through these feelings because this is not who he is. I do not see him coming out as gay.
I don't either. But
do I think that Amazon Prime and Netflix are going to drop their deals with him?
No.
Not
at this time.
No. I mean, if he's found guilty of something, maybe they just won't continue to work with him. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. And also because we received so many messages about it, that's why I felt the need to talk about it. But
I mean, I don't think the man should be ruined. I don't want to. It's disappointing, but this isn't. I feel like what I would envision for him is like, what's his name? Ricky Martin. It's like years after the peak. Hey, everybody, I'm gay. That's what I probably saw Tyler Perry doing one day.
Let's move on. You were in New York for a few days.
I was.
Past week. Do you want to? We'll talk about your food, your dining experiences in the restaurant section, but
well, my sister had never been and had always wanted to go, and so it was kind of a late birthday present to her. So we just went for a few days, and without any specific plans per se, and I kind of let her do what she wanted, what interested her during the day, and then at night we did a tour of gay bars and Hell's Kitchen. Which she had very strong opinions about some of them. And and ate 2 meals a day. We walked a lot. I think on Friday, I walked 15 miles just casually.
Wow.
Not that I think that's special or unique, but it's just like, wow, that just happened. But clearly, I've spoken about New York before. It's clearly a city I love to visit. I don't love every part of it. We were staying kind of near Times Square. And again, I don't like Times Square, but I felt, it's a good place to start. And I think we both kind of avoided that as much as we could. But I will say we spent a day in Brooklyn, and she kind of fell in love with Brooklyn.
Oh, well.
Which is hard not to do. I mean, there's so much to do. Yeah, Brooklyn's a hot spot for sure.
Well, it sounds like you both enjoyed it. I wanted to quickly mention, we reviewed podcast episode number 202. We reviewed a movie called Fighting to Be Me, the Dwen Curry story.
Mm-hmm.
It's produced by Judge Mathis. He posted the other day that that movie, they're campaigning for Emmy consideration for Best Direction.
Oh no.
I felt embarrassed for him. Like, I hope no one who sees his post has seen that movie.
Okay.
That thing was terrible. All right. Ironically, our next section is 5 on the black hand side, 5 black filmmakers who are not Tyler Perry. Who do we have first?
Well, this is fitting with the film selection for this week's podcast. But Patrik-Ian Polk, director of the Noah's Ark films and
series.
Well, there was a 2004 and 2008 film, and then the series was 05 to 06, if I'm remembering correctly. And he also did a film with Monique when she was kind of on the outskirts of the industry, Blackbird. I remember seeing that with you.
Oh, yeah.
About the young gay black kid, and she's the mother, if I remember correctly, and Isaiah Washington's in it. He also did a film called The Skinny, which I've never seen.
Who do we have next?
Next on the list, because we're going back in time to some deceased legends, but is Melvin Van Peebles.
Who I know, well, you have it written down too, but.
Well, right around the time I think, I remember receiving in the mail right after he died was Criterion put out a beautiful collection of his films. And I think that was the opportunity we used to watch Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, which is probably his most famous directorial effort and kind of accidentally started what would be called the blaxploitation film movement. But previous to that, I had randomly put on Watermelon Man one day. Which
is so good.
Which we're both big fans of. But going back even further, the Story of a 3-Day Pass from 1967 is excellent. I'm forgetting the name of the last film, but yeah, there's that if you haven't, Don't Play Us Cheap. But if you haven't seen his films, highly recommended. And then, of course, very fittingly, I'm including his son next on this list is Mario Van Peebles, who started out as an actor, but had he had a really strong run in the 90s, thanks to, I mean, this is an iconic film, New Jack City.
Well, I have to say, because he also did the film Panther.
Yep.
The soundtracks to New Jack City and Panther were favorites of mine back then.
Mm-hmm. And Posse is another big one from that period.
Also, a deep cut on the Panther soundtrack. There is a song sung by a girl group, and I think they only ever had one song, but one of the members of that girl group is Tammy Roman.
Oh yeah.
But go ahead, Posse.
Posse, and highly recommended, an ode to his father's film, Sweetback. He directed a film where he played his father called Badass in 2003, which I highly recommend. Loved that film. And some of his acting credits, he was in a Jaws film. They were trying to, and I think, did Clint Eastwood put him in Heartbreak Ridge? That he gave him a big break. If you want to see him in something real cheesy from his youth, though, Rappin', which was the follow-up from the director of Breakin', which is pretty bad, but kind of fun.
Next
I have Horace Ove, who is credited with being the first Black British director to make a feature-length film, and that is the classic Pressure from 1975, which I watched this week for the first time.
Oh.
And it is excellent. His stuff's if you're having a hard time finding it, are interested, Criterion on their online site has quite a few of his stuff streaming, including a very notable medium-length documentary called Baldwin's N-Word, in which James Baldwin and Dick Gregory are discussing the civil rights movement. And another bigger one he did from '87 was called Playing Away, which is a sports-related film about a black cricket team.
Last but certainly not least,
Maya Angelou, who of course is no longer with us. I mean, should be familiar with her writings, but was also a film director and a screenwriter. I mean, she wrote the script for Georgia, Georgia, starring Diana Sands in the 70s.
She wrote the poetry for Poetic Justice.
She did,
and
yes.
She's in the film.
And she is in the film. She's at the barbecue.
The family reunion, yeah.
And then she did direct a film in 1998 starring Elfrey Woodard called Down in the Delta, which you and I think have a review out there for that.
A podcast episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So yeah, she's of course multifaceted, very interesting. I've never seen Georgia, Georgia. Me putting her on this list this week is a reminder that I need to find that somewhere.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to the restaurant section. So you ate at many places.
Yeah, the first night, because her flight was delayed getting in, so we were just like, let's wander around and find something cute. And we found this. There are a ton of Irish pubs. I think even more than I realized, like a ton. So we were walking a couple blocks and we sat at this place that had outside. We tried to go inside and it felt like nightclub music. And it's like, let's sit outside. There was kind of high chances of rain. They had a seat. We sat there for 10 minutes at a place called Maggie's Place. And I said, nope, not doing it.
Oh.
Walked right across the street to a place called Connolly's. Come to find, our hotel was right next to a place called Connolly's as well. But I think we made the right choice in the one we went to. I had a burger, but I will say the man that served us, who was not one of the wait staff, he saw us. We were seated, and then we didn't wait that long, but he walked by, and then he like took care of our table for the entire time we were there. And he looked to be one of the managers.
Oh,
and I will say overall, the service in New York at all the restaurants I was at, besides the one where we were blatantly ignored, excellent. Like, because my sister was surprised at that, and maybe I guess I don't know if New York has a bad rap for service, but God, everybody that assisted us, super helpful, friendly. Like, yeah, I couldn't complain.
Next,
then we went to the Red Flame Diner. Which is just
what did they serve?
They serve what do you think? We went there for brunch, and they had at first, because it was nearby and we'd slept in that day, and she was hungry, and I looked online at their menu. I'm like, oh my God, these prices are high. But that's for like really basic shit. But that's if you order out. When things were much more reasonable seated, and it was like an old timey diner. I had an ABC omelet.
What is that?
Which was
bacon, cheese,
broccoli,
cheese. What's the A for? Anchovies?
American cheese, I think.
Oh.
I don't remember now. I don't remember. I don't remember what the ABCs were. But there's broccoli, and I felt like I was making a good choice. And then one day, we went to the Strand. We walked to the Strand bookstore, which was a trek, and then got drowned out in rain. There's a downpour.
Oh.
And I had brought an umbrella with me, but of course not on that walk. But she that same day wanted to go to MoMA because she'd never been there. And guess who we saw while we were wandering around MoMA?
Well, I know, but tell us.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
And she missed him.
Oh no.
But I was like,
does he look as little as I think?
Yeah, I think he looked great. But
yeah, he looks great.
I knew instantly it was him, and he appeared to be with his family.
Oh.
But he's little, and my sister's not short, and she's like, I think I was looking right over his head.
Oh, she didn't notice him because, yeah, she's tall.
But somebody came up and shook his hand, which is not something I would ever do. Like, he's with his family looking at art. Okay, they were admiring something by Matisse, but. Yeah, it was really random. And then we checked out a lot of that. And then there was a film playing because MoMA has its own theater as well, which I believe is an institution that was there prior to MoMA being there, like a long-standing theater. But it's in the basement. And what was interesting is during the film, which was Bernardo Bertolucci's The Grim Reaper, you could hear the subway like every 15 minutes.
Oh,
so that was interesting. But yeah, that was fun. And between MoMA and the film, we ate nearby at this Italian place called Pazzanotte, and we had one of their pizzas, whatever one that they recommended on the menu. And my sister likes calamari, so we also had that. And that was lovely too. We got to sit outside. We were in between bouts of rain. The waiter assured us, he's like, it's not scheduled to rain until 8. You'll be fine.
no.
And then the next morning, we went to Parker and Quinn, where I believe I had a fried chicken sandwich.
That sounds like some white people kids.
I didn't choose it. Well, yeah. But that was also kind of an Irish pub theme, if I'm recalling it correctly. But my sister had found that. And also, the lady was so friendly. She's like, "Do you want coffee to go? I'll pack. I'll give you some coffee to go."
Okay. Just shove it in my veins.
Well, the amount we walked, I probably what kept me alive. Then I made a reservation. We in our random walking all around. I walked by Joe Allen, which is a restaurant I've talked to about before, because I last was there in 2007 after a performance of Sigourney Weaver in the off-Broadway production of Crazy Mary. And I'm like, oh, I had such fond memories of this restaurant. I'm like, let's make a reservation. We went. I had a chicken smash burger. I think my memories of it was also very nice and lovely, but I think that in my mind's eye, based on how old I was when I was there in New York, I probably held it in a higher regard maybe. But I would recommend going there. It was easy, sweet. I thought the prices were fair for the food. And then our last morning, we accidentally found this place that it looked like tranquil seating right by Rockefeller Center. This place called Ludi. Well,
El Lute,
a man who was hunted because he was poor. Boney M reference. And it was nice and peaceful. And then considering the area especially, and I think I had a burger. See, I kept worrying about how big portions were, and I know the portion size of a burger. So,
oh, that's what prohibited you from trying something else.
Well, no, well, if we're gonna, we'd established a trend of walking. I didn't want to have like 2 pounds of food in my guts,
Okay.
And then our last meal was probably our most expensive, but I guess my favorite. She found this Asian fusion place called Say Less, and it's spelled SEI, and it was almost kind of difficult to find because there's some construction going around. But it's like many places in New York where you walk inside and you're like, "Whoa, it's a wonderland over here." And they had lobster everything.
Oh, so what did you order?
Okay, so the thing that I didn't order, because again, also the rhetoric, and especially for people that were talking to us, like the world could end in a month. Let's just choose joy. But I still didn't choose the noodles that were $85 that were their Say Less udon noodle sauce with lobster. You could also get colossal lobsters for $107. We didn't do that.
Oh,
we had some lo mein with added lobster, and then some pork bow, and these things called lobster spoons, which weren't what I envisioned when they arrived. They were basically like shooters with like morsels of lobster meat in beurre blanc butter, which is like a style of French butter with white wine and vinegar. Basically, you're drinking morsels of lobster up with melted butter. Mm-hmm. It's not what I thought it would be. And then we got some pot stickers, but the waiter's like, "You guys didn't order enough food, so I'm going to leave this menu with you." I'm like, "How much do you think we need?"
Was it enough food?
We ordered one more thing.
Oh, so he wasn't wrong.
He wasn't wrong, but it was like, we didn't need to do that. I don't need to be stuffed, So yeah, that was a great experience. And then of course we went to several gay
bars. Did you eat street meat?
Street meat?
You know how people eat food off the like those little like food vendors,
the hot dogs everywhere,
or the
pizza,
gyro, or
no, we didn't eat anything like that. Oh. We were trying to be somewhat healthy. Although I regretted not getting a slice with her somewhere. But and then I brought her to several gay bars. I think her favorite was the Dickens, which I'd never been to before. And I guess because they had their own separate martini bar, and my sister really loves martinis.
Oh, okay.
And the one I got there, I got the French martini. That might have been the best. I'm not well practiced in drinking those, but that was really good. She also liked Atlas Social Club, and I think she was okay with Industry. She didn't like Hush, and she really didn't like a place called Rise. And I hadn't been there before in a while, and I have to agree, like whatever was going on that night at Rise. Oh, and no, actually, her second favorite was Boxers. And I do like the vibe at Boxers almost every time I've been. But I wanted to shout out this drag queen that we walked into this performance going on. Her name is Mo Raya, MO''RIAH. And her Instagram is moriah.nyc. Wow. My God. The show that person put on, jumping up in the air, doing all these flips in stilettos. I mean, I'm describing it as like you've seen probably many drag performers do this, but it was electric and it was insane. I felt like what we were watching.
Wow.
And there were two other drag queens performing with her. They were also fantastic, but the thing she was doing, wow.
Well, I wonder if I feel like we're going to see her on an upcoming season of Drag Race.
I don't know. I saw on her Instagram she performs many places in New York. But so if you are looking to discover a new drag performer, Mo Raya, one of the maybe the most impressive thing I saw on this trip to New York.
No.
The second most impressive thing was this tree, because we went to my sister likes botanical gardens, so we went to this the day we spent in Brooklyn. We went to flea market that I believe is right under the Manhattan Bridge, which is really cool, but it was really hard to see things because there's so many people just crammed in this little space, and the train going on overhead. It's a strange sort of its own particular stress, but glad we went. And then we went to these botanical gardens, which feels like you're in this bizarre oasis. But they had this tree there. It's a Mexican pine, I believe, but it's called a Martinez pinon. It looks like a Dr. Seuss pine. It's pink and blue. And if we had a yard, which we don't right now, if we ever have a yard again, I want to put Martinez pinons in it.
Noted. Lastly, I did finally try the Irish pub, the Cat and the Fiddle. Mm-hmm. Apparently it's pretty popular. It's on Highland and Melrose. Mm-hmm. I had a hard time finding it because I thought it was a restaurant that was higher up on Highland.
Okay.
But so we ended up going to a place where we ended up is not what I thought we were doing, but it was what I wanted. But I really liked it. I had fish and chips because that's what I had a taste for. And I really liked my food. And they had something that I don't think I've ever had, but it was like, it's like someone took peas and made like mashed potatoes out of them. But then it also tasted kind of like split pea soup. And I love split pea soup.
Yes, you do. So
yeah, I got the fish and chips, like 2 big pieces of, battered, deep fried
haddock,
whatever kind of fish it
halibut.
Was. And that, well, no, because there's another restaurant, the friend who I went with, he's like, oh, let's try this other restaurant. They have halibut fish and chips. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really good. Like, let's go. But then he messages me back like the price of it.
I'm not paying $30 for halibut.
Well, it was like $38 for the fish and chips, which I thought was, I was fine with it. So I was kind of surprised that he wasn't. But.
In the world of LA prices, that's not that crazy.
Right. So I don't know. He was being weird about it. But anyway, that's that. Okay. We need to fly through these films released we didn't cover. Bride Hard.
Oh God, this looked like trash. But Rebel Wilson trying to, I guess, regurgitate Bridesmaids in this film directed by Simon West, who many people maybe remember from Lara Croft Tomb Raider, the original Angelina version. He also did Con Air. Strangely, this like 2 weeks ago, I watched General's Daughter with John Travolta, which is terrible. But yeah, Simon West doing a Rebel Wilson.
What does
film
that have to do with anything? General's Daughter.
that I saw it and it was terrible. So,
But what does that have to do with Brideheart?
that is the same director,
Oh.
Simon West.
Pixar's Elio?
We almost saw this.
I had no interest in this.
We had reserved a spot.
I know, but I mean, I had no interest.
I know, that's why we saw something else instead. But Adrienne Molina, Madeline Sharafian, and Domi Shi were the directors beyond this. And I think it's about a little boy that's obsessed with space and goes on an adventure.
Everything's going to be great.
Directed by John S. Baird, starring Allison Janney and Bryan Cranston. I think it's about a family of theater performers, comedy.
Familiar touch.
This sounded really good. It's directed by Sarah Friedland, and I believe it won many awards at the Venice Film Festival last year out of the Sidebar, which I believe was the Horizonte. I think it's about an aging woman dealing with the loss of everything about life. But it sounded really good. I would watch this.
Marlee Matlin, Not Alone Anymore.
Shoshana Stern has given us a Marlee Matlin documentary, which I am a fan of Marlee, and I didn't the news that is broken about her is that she's been in a long-term relationship with Henry Winkler.
Oh.
And it was never known but to anybody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lastly, Sovereign.
It's a thriller starring Nick Offerman and directed by Christian Swagel, which I guess is about it's a thriller about a father and son who are sovereign citizens, which seems timely.
Moving on to projects of interest. Martinez Pignon.
That was just of interest. That was the tree I said I wanted.
That tree is called Martinez Pignon?
Yes.
Well, now that I've messed that up. Well, I saw that you wrote of interest, and I'm like, we've never had an of interest section.
No, because I don't.
So I didn't know what that was, but and then there's something about Mariah in there. I'm like, I don't know what that is.
That's the drag queen I just talked about.
Mm-hmm. Martinez Pignon.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks like a pine tree,
but it's like blue and pink.
Oh yeah, all these pictures, it just looks like a pine tree.
Oh no!
Oh wait, here's one. Oh, it kind of looks bluish.
Yeah, it's not like vivid.
I think what you saw is rare. Like it says rare, so I think they usually don't look like that.
Oh well,
but like it does exist.
If I have a yard where I can put trees in it, I should be able to afford those, right?
All right. Unfortunately, there are entries in the obituaries section.
Well, there were projects of interest, and there were two of them. Including a film called Can We Talk, which Natasha Lyonne is apparently going to be playing Joan Rivers.
Okay.
And then Bertrand Bonello is apparently working on many projects, but it sounds like the next one's going to be called Sainthood Now, which is about Pope John Paul II, which that subject matter doesn't innately interest me, but I love Bertrand Bonello. Le Beast was one of the few 5-star reviews I've given in a long time.
Great. All right. So unfortunately, Jack Betts died at the age of 96. I guess he's best known for a role in Spider-Man. I'm not familiar with this actor, but
Jack Betts.
He's now gone.
How do you spell his last name?
Betts.
Oh, yeah, I recognize him. He was 97.
96.
Oof.
Yeah. And then Gaylord Sartain died at 78. He was known for Hee Haw, Mississippi Burning, Fried Green Tomatoes.
Yes. He played cops a bit, I thought. Anyway, yeah, he looks familiar as well.
And then Anne Burrell died. People know her from, she's a host on several like Food Network shows. She was very recognizable because, well, she has that like bleached blonde hair. And then I always assumed she was a lesbian, but she was married to a man. She died recently, and the circumstances of her death are still being figured out, but it looks like maybe she had a heart attack due to overdosing on medication, maybe.
Oh.
But my memory of her is she hosted that like Worst Celebrity Cooks, And one season, LaToya Jackson was on it.
And what's her name from the Daisy Duke from Dukes of Hazzard was on
Well,
that.
and Maria Bamford was on it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. And like watching Anne deal with these, like, well, especially Anne dealing with Maria Bamford and LaToya Jackson.
She kept laughing.
Well, LaToya won the season.
She did.
Like she actually was the person who looks like they don't eat anything was the best cook. You know how bad those other celebrity cooks had to be?
They were all a bit
there was one hunky
wretched.
guy who was like a child actor, I remember. Right? Wasn't there some guy who was kind of younger?
Wasn't that guy you like from
Kyle XY?
Wasn't Ian Ziering in it?
Oh, Ian Ziering was in it. Was Matt Dallas on it? Maybe.
That sounds right.
Anyway.
And then the guy from The Office.
Yes.
Nunez.
Mm-hmm. So she's passed away. Then
by the way, Gaylord Sartain, where I recognize him from are the Ernest movies.
Oh, okay.
He was in many of those.
And then the English screenwriter and director Mark Peplow.
Yeah, he won an Oscar for writing Bertolucci's The Last Emperor in 1987.
And the actress Lynn Hamilton.
Yes.
Who is most known for playing Fred Sanford's girlfriend on Sanford and Son.
Yes.
She was also on The Waltons, which my mom watched.
My mom did too.
Religiously. Okay, we're at the hour mark. Ooh. This week's secret film was my choice. It was my choice, and I chose the 2025 film Noah's Ark, the movie. Why did I do this? Well, people were asking if we were going to review it. And so I thought, why not? What is it about? This premise, it's so funny because it makes it seem like there's sort of like a through line or a story, but a gay couple expecting twins must shift gears when each is offered their dream job, forcing one of them to assume the traditional stay-at-home parental role. I guess that is a component of the movie.
The tagline is "They're back for their biggest chapter yet."
I don't know. Okay, just straight away, I didn't care for this movie. I recognize that Noah's Ark is very important to a lot of people, and we were talking yesterday. You know, over the past like 25, 30 years, like it's so. I mean, it's not surprising, but it kind of is that there haven't been. Because we were trying to think of all the like gay shows, of course, Queer as Folk, Noah's Ark,
the British and American versions, yeah.
Looking, The L Word. That's about it, right?
That were, yeah. I mean,
like that were predominantly like they focused on gay, not like some. I mean, I've never seen Euphoria, but are there gay characters in Euphoria?
Yes,
I don't know.
Yes, there are.
And like Will and Grace, I don't think really counts.
Well, that's a sitcom.
Yeah.
Like in a realistic adult fashion.
So for that reason alone, Noah's Ark has earned its spot.
Well, yeah, it does. It definitely does fill a void because there aren't. There's really very little content directed at Black queer men.
That being said, I did try to watch this series with you because I had never seen it. I didn't watch it when it initially came out. And I didn't really connect with the characters. I also didn't think the quality of the production was the best.
No, but we've seen worse.
And then we watched the 2008 film Noah's Ark Jumping the Broom.
Yeah.
Which I also didn't care for.
I didn't care for that, but I will say to its benefit, or maybe it was just my mood, I think that this 2025 film is better than Jumping the Broom.
You did like this more than I did.
I think that there's some sweetness to it, and I think if you have nostalgia for these characters, I can see someone really enjoying it. There's a lot that's kind of dumb, but it's not bad.
Fans of the series will find some value in the nostalgia, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I just don't think this film balances the ensemble cast in a way that makes sense, really. I mean, what this movie feels like to me is whomever wrote it, maybe back in 2009, had written a script for maybe like an 8-episode series or like reboot. and it never got made. And then earlier this year, someone said, we'll give you $500,000 for a Noah's Ark movie. And so they took maybe 5 of the 8 episodes and put it in a blender and pulled out 89 minutes worth.
Well, remember,
and just slapped it on like it just feels so disjointed and chaotic.
Well, remember during the pandemic, they had that short Noah's Ark, the Rona Chronicles.
Okay. I'm going to describe, like, I really don't think there isn't sort of like a storyline that all the characters are working towards. It all feels very random. So I'm just going to go through the main characters and talk about their stories. But I think a bad sign is that for each of these characters, because we were talking earlier, I feel like we could easily come up with a better approach for each of them.
Because a lot of it feels scattershot and superficial.
Yeah. So I was disappointed. Also, I think all the other elements of filmmaking, like cinematography, lighting, hair and makeup, production design, some of the acting, it all feels subpar to me. Sorry. Okay. So I guess to tell the story, we can start with the titular character Noah, played by Daryl Stevens. So Noah is an executive producer, like when we meet him in 2025, and they all live in LA. Noah is an executive producer for a show called We Are the Dead, which I guess is supposed to be like The Walking Dead. And it appears to be popular, and it stars an actor who's played by Eva Marcel, America's Next Top Model. And he is still with Wade.
Yes. The
bisexual hottie. And Wade works in A&R for a record label. And they appear to have a beautiful life. They have a beautiful home that, if I had to guess where it would be in like Hancock Park. So, multi-million-dollar home. So it appears they're doing well. Although, judging from the production design of the interior, it doesn't reflect the exterior. But although their bathroom, they have a sex scene in the shower.
They do.
That was a really cool bathroom. But if that's their bedroom, that's a really awkward bathroom. So again, the production design is really interesting. But they're still together and they want children. So they have found a surrogate, a lesbian named Esther, who has agreed to carry their embryos because they're not using her eggs, which I found funny. Yes. Well, I guess that probably wouldn't be protocol, that you wouldn't use the surrogate's eggs, but she's not. She's carrying their babies, and they're having twins.
Esther.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Noah and Wade's story. Then we have Ricky, played by Christian Vincent. So Ricky is still, a thought, and he is with Dr. Vargas, played by Wilson Cruz. The opening of the movie is Ricky saying goodbye to Dr. Vargas.
He's going to Toronto.
Because, Wilson Cruz's character is going to Toronto. And Ricky is being very cold towards Wilson Cruz. And at first, it's like kind of hard to determine why. Like, So there's that. Okay, then we have Alex, played by Rodney Chester. I do remember that in the series, he was like wasn't he like an HIV/AIDS counselor?
Yeah, that sounds right.
He's like the most flamboyant of the group. And then he is in a relationship with a very attractive Gregory Keith. And Gregory Keith works in healthcare. And I believe they had a kid during the series. So this child is now like a teenager, like a 17-year-old. And their child is a trans woman. And she has a serious problem with her dad, Alex, being a drag queen. Like, I think she says it like triggers her gender identity, and she just doesn't like it, to the point where she doesn't want to live with her parents anymore. Alex and what's his name? Trey. So she goes to live with her godfather, Noah. So that's a storyline. And then the final member of the four is Chance, played by Doug Spearman. And then Chance is with Eddie. And we don't really know anything about Chance, like his career, what he's doing. But he, I mean, it's hard to tell it without just straight up saying Eddie has died like a year prior. And so Chance is dealing with the grief of that, which includes maybe like ghostly visions that I thought were handled very poorly. But Chance is struggling with dealing with the grief and when it's appropriate for him to start dating again. He starts interacting. Well, I thought he was going to start dating this bartender or this like server at the gay bar, but then in the end, that doesn't seem to be the case. But either way.
Yeah, he kept eyeing him.
So that's what all these characters are doing. There really isn't, I mean, there's no story to tell. The Wade and Noah end up having these twins, although there's a surprise we'll get to. But we don't, we don't see them raising these children. And Noah, I guess the biggest conflict for them, Wade and Noah, is that how are they going to balance work with kids?
There needs to be some bits about finance based on how they're going about this plan.
Well, let's talk about that, because I also felt like I needed to better understand because
Wade, we find out that Wade is not top tier at work.
No, he is doing A&R for a record label, and his main, like the client he's working with is someone named
Two-Tone Cello.
Two-Tone Cello.
Mm-hmm.
It, like this mumble rapper type kid, and he's not even like fully in charge of his artist.
Right.
And then Wade's boss tells him if you do well with Two-Tone, you might have an opportunity one day to be VP. So it sounds like Wade is not, I mean, they live in a mansion. So it's like, I don't think Wade's making all the money. So it has to be Noah, who's the executive producer of this popular show. But then it's Noah who decides to quit his job so he can raise the children. That didn't make any sense to me unless Noah had made millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
But then they don't act like they've made that kind of money. In fact, there's a comment about Two-Tone wanting to get McDonald's.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, you don't have McDonald's.
And Noah's like, would you have McDonald's money? Because otherwise I can just make some food. And it's like, okay, I feel like someone as rich as you are and as busy and stressed as you are, I'd be like, if your ass wants McDonald's, let's go to the drive-thru.
I mean, right. But also, did you get the sense that Two-Tone was kind of modeled after Tekashi 69, kind of?
No, I thought he felt more like, what's that? He did a song with Madonna. Who's that rapper who... Schmurder?
Sam Smith?
Huh?
Sam Smith?
No.
I'm not kidding.
Oh, God. Someone help me. Madonna?
Tyler, the Creator?
No, it's like a kid who looks just like that with like braids and...
Which album?
Was it on an album or was it like on his album? Oh, shoot.
I'm not recalling. For some reason, because there was something about how he was styled that Tekashi came to my mind, but...
I'm trying to look it up.
Clearly not as much of a problem as that individual.
God, I'm never going to find it.
It's fine. It might come to you.
Oh, okay. I see a picture of him. Oh, Sway Lee.
Oh.
Type in Sway Lee Madonna. Sway Lee looks just like Two-Tone to me.
Sure.
Right?
With the braids, yeah.
So that's who I was thinking, Sway Lee, even though I didn't know his
But
name.
Two-Tone's got his face all marked up.
He has 2 tattoos on his face. Yeah.
There's something in the color. He's got colors in the braids too. That's what was given.
Oh, the colors in the braids. Sure. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So I don't understand their finances. I don't understand why it makes sense for the person who clearly makes the most money to quit when you seem to have kind of a lavish lifestyle. But either way, I'm just going to start going through my notes.
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
So Alex, I feel like his character has no, like, there's no interiority or development of his character except that he's a drag queen and he owns like this very popular drag bar called Boot Nannies,
which was giving me like Oil Can Harry's vibes. But
and
one night in particular.
How long is this movie? 80?
Mm-hmm.
It's 84 minutes. So it's quite short.
Yes.
And Alex, there are like 4 musical numbers.
Yes.
He does 3 in drag, and then at one point, the fourth time is they have a slumber party and they do a performance of Diana Ross as the boss. But for such a short movie, for them to have 4 musical numbers, the first is we see Alex doing a performance of Love is a Contact Sport by Whitney Houston. And that's when we see Kennedy Davenport as one of the dancers. But I was laughing the entire time because that production was huge. And there were more people there were more dancers than there were people in the audience.
That's true. It's like if you're going to give these numbers, there was no memorable choreography.
And then I'm like, wow, this is a huge performance with how many? There were like 20 dancers.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out, it's also like a baby shower for Noah and Wade.
So stupid.
And the entire time, Alex's trans daughter is in the audience, mean mugging.
Oh, I'm like, because I didn't realize who she was at that point. I'm like, oh, she's mad.
So then during the baby shower at the same performance, the trans daughter pipes up or perks up and gives Noah a gift. And Noah's like, it's all the books that are banned by white right-wing fascists. And then we see the books, and it's like one tiny novel and a coloring book. Yep. I was so confused. Like, what?
Wait, what are we joking about here?
Yeah, what is the joke? Because none of it works.
Because she should have had a truckload.
Okay, then we see Alex back at home with his daughter, and she is acting a plum fool. She is a problem.
She's acting like they adopted her last week.
Okay, so yes, when she comes downstairs in her school uniform to get ready to go to school, she's wearing her shirt's very short, her skirt's very short, and she's tied her shirt up like a midriff. And Alex loses it, saying you can't go to school dressed like that. The way they're arguing, it feels like they just adopted a teenager who they've only known for a week. Not like this is the child you've been raising for 17 years.
And she says her dad's been misgendering her. Alex does not ever give that indication that.
And then, okay, so that's the next thing. Her problem with her dad doing drag, it's just not explained. What is her problem?
Because she would have grown up with him doing this. And they seem very open to her identity.
And then her other dad, Trey, who works in healthcare in some capacity, I just don't get the sense that they would be insensitive to her or that they wouldn't be able to evolve.
I mean, they're just being, she's being lippy with them. She's being a teenager.
Well, then Alex takes her phone away.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes, if you don't give my phone back. And then she grabs a picture and breaks it. That scene took me out. Because now Alex is chasing her around the kitchen island like, okay.
Little girl.
My mom would have grabbed another picture and threw it at me. But okay. Then we see that Noah drives like a Nissan Rogue, like a small SUV, like a family type thing. And then one day Wade comes home and he's like, I have a surprise for you, babe. And so we get this really awkward shot of Wade taking, I thought this was so poorly shot. It's like an aerial view of Wade dragging Noah outside, covering both of his eyes. But then Wade removes one of his hands to close the front door. Like, why would you do that? And then he's like, look, this is like one of the most safe family vehicles, and it's a Chrysler Pacifica minivan. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, what was the purpose of this scene?
Well, also, again, finances. You just went and bought a new car. Didn't tell me about it. I mean, that's lovely.
Like a third car.
That's great. Surprises like that are lovely, but are your finances
And do you need this? You already drive a sensible vehicle that can very easily accommodate 2 car seats.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't understand the purpose of that scene. They're also not having any conflict. Like, I want the kids, you don't. Who's going to take care? There is zero conflict between this couple regarding these children.
Mm-hmm.
The only commonality or the only conflict as the audience I see is that they are not prepared to have kids. But
they keep the fun's going to end. It's like, okay.
So then it's like, why do we need a scene where Wade buys? It's not like Noah drove like a Porsche Boxster, like a little 2-seat sports car, and now he finally has to give that up.
Right.
I just think there are so many things that would have made more sense. Like, yeah, have Noah drive a sports car and he has to give it up for a minivan, and that's a point of contention.
Mhm.
And then they talk about we can't have fun anymore, but we don't see them having fun. My other issue I wanted to mention earlier on that I forgot is this film also feels like it was written in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
But these characters, last time we met them was 17 years ago. Like this is a sequel to the 2008 movie.
Well, if you're not counting the short Rona Chronicles thing, which I think we did watch, but I don't remember.
So I guess I'm not quite clear. Like, why are they all acting like so new to things? When am I supposed to think that much time has passed? Because they've certainly aged. So it's not like, well, I'm not being shady. 17 years is a long time.
It is, yeah.
They all look good for 17 years passing.
Yeah.
But it's like, I didn't get the sense that this is supposed to be set in like 2010. Like,
no.
Okay. Another plot point that I just thought was so corny is that Noah has quit his job, but then one day he gets a special delivery to his house. And it's this like ornate box, and he opens it and it's glowing gold, like Willy Wonka's golden ticket.
Well, I was going to say like the suitcase in Kiss Me Deadly
or that,
which was aped in Pulp Fiction.
And then we find out that Beyonce is a fan of We Are the Dead, and she wants the executive producer of that, not the writer or the director, but the executive producer, to write
a treatment
for a story about her gay uncle.
Mm-hmm. But we don't know. We don't know it's Beyonce that's sent this though
until the very end.
Yes, that's
yeah. But you can assume, because everyone knows about Beyonce's gay uncle because she talked about how much she loved him during the Renaissance era. Mm-hmm. So anyone watching Noah's Ark the movie knows exactly who they're talking about. I thought that was so corny. And then it's like, again, there's no conflict because Wade absolutely wants
he
Noah
supports
to do
it.
He supports. So what is the conflict?
Well, the conflict is now that Noah's not going to be a stay-at-home dad. They have to consider how these kids are going to be taken care of.
So then that's the only function it serves, is like, how are we going to raise these kids? Oh, we have to get a nanny. So then we get this little montage of them interviewing nannies that I know was supposed to be funny, but I thought it was hacky.
Yeah.
And then it culminates in them getting a message that, because then they say, oh, all the good nannies are taken. Like, there's no nanny season, is there?
In LA?
Like, it's not like, oh, you got to get your good nanny before the summer ends, or like, they don't explain like why that even makes sense to say like, oh, all the good nannies are already taken for this year.
Children are born year round.
So then they kind of give up hope when they get a message saying, oh, the top nanny is now free. Like, it's like a press release.
The agency, yeah.
Yeah, like the top nanny in LA is now free. And so she's taking interviews.
And she wants to work with gay people.
But she specifically wants a gay couple. But then we meet this lady. It's played by Jasmine. She's played by Jasmine Guy, who is a pleasure to see.
Yes.
But she's playing it like this stern, like British woman.
Like out of a Roald Dahl novel.
So why would she want a gay couple?
The accent is interesting, yeah.
And then she's interviewing them, and they're a mess because they have, which I just thought was such a bad look, like to have this gay couple bring these two lives into the world, having not prepared for them
at all.
Like, why would you have this presentation? But
specifically Noah,
they don't know anything about kids. Mm-hmm. So the nanny's like, okay, well, nice meeting you, bye. But then we see they get in the mail a shipment, and she has shipped them like 2 little Megan dolls. Like, it's like
the kind that you get in home ec, like where the kids have to take home a baby and take care of it.
But they're robotic, so they track like behaviors. Yes. And like if you pick it up, if you change it. And so apparently they're going to have to keep these dolls for a week. And if Jasmine Guy is satisfied with the treatment,
with the data,
she might
take them on.
Okay, but did Jasmine Guy read to you like she was going to be the nanny? She's acting like she's the Sigourney Weaver character in Baby Mama.
Like she's assigning them
Like she will assign them someone.
Like I oversee this program.
I just think that while Jasmine Guy is fun, that character makes
it doesn't make any
negative sense.
Because it's like you're gonna have this lady working in your house, and she seems real cool.
Okay, another problem I have is I didn't care for the 4 leads. I just think that they felt like a couple steps behind what I would expect. In fact, I preferred some of the supporting cast, like the lesbian surrogate Esther. I thought she was fun. I liked Two-Tone Cello. I like Jasmine Guy, of course. You have T.S. Madison, who runs. Alex owns a drag club, but what's her name from Beauty and Black, who ran the strip club?
Oh,
because it was Body and Delinda.
Delinda, and then T.S. Madison was Dega.
Oh, and actually T.S. Madison was in it as Dega, the nurse who's doing illegal ass shots. But the T.S. Madison's like the Delinda of Boot Nanny.
Oh yeah, she's like she's almost running around like a bordello madam,
screaming at everyone. Of course, I like seeing T.S. Madison. I do think she has a lot of screen presence.
They don't give her anything to do, though.
But then it's like, yeah, I felt like the supporting characters were upstaging the principal ensemble. And then Trey, Alex's man, had nothing to do. We see him once. Like there's a random scene where they're at like I don't know if he's giving COVID vaccine shots or monkeypox vaccines. And then he ends up delivering. Esther goes into labor at the gay drag club. And so Trey delivers those babies. Okay. This whole Chance and Eddie situation. So I already explained it as Eddie had died a year earlier, and so Chance is grieving the loss of his husband. But that's not how it plays out in the movie. In the movie, it plays out like it was. Were you confused?
At first,
I was super confused.
Because, well, I didn't remember the death, for one thing. And we get to see...
Wait, but the death is only a year old, so it wasn't part
of
it.
Wasn't... So, yeah, I have no idea. And then because my first recollection, I watched this... 2 days before you did, Eddie approaches Doug Spearman, Chance, saying that he'd like to find, like Chance should go out and find a top.
Oh no! So they were at Boot Nanny.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my God! There's so much about this. So they're at Boot Nanny's, and the server is hitting on Chance.
Yeah, they're making eyes.
So then when Chance comes home, presumably he told his husband, oh, I was out with the guys and this hot server hit on me. And that's when Eddie says, well, you should have done it. Really? You don't want me to do that? Like a throuple? He's like, no, I want to watch. So then we get a scene where Chance is having sex with that server, and then he goes downstairs to get a water, and Eddie is mad. And he calls him...
He goes, I think you're a slut.
So then it's like, whoa, okay, this feels crazy because you just told me to do this. And then the next scene, when we see, is Chance at Eddie's burial site.
Yes.
And then we find out that Eddie died a year ago. So I guess what we were seeing, or what Chance was seeing, was like Eddie's ghost, like in his head, he's imagining.
Yes.
And so I think what they were trying to do is invoke this idea that Chance is haunted by the guilt of moving on from Eddie.
Yes.
But the way it plays out is crazy as hell.
A Henry Jamesian twist.
And Chance at that gravesite crying. I'm sorry, but that was laughable.
It was, because that scene, I could have seen that playing like the moment with the sisters in Hard Truths where they visit the mother's grave.
Exactly.
Where it's like there are a lot of feelings being brought up by being here right now, and how can we authentically articulate them? They
just couldn't balance the tones and because when they walk up to the gravesite, the 3 guys are behind them, and they're all it's giving like Sex in the City, because they're all dressed up like sashaying to the gravesite, and then immediately you have Chance like,
well, Ricky's trying to hit on somebody shoveling a grave.
It's too much.
And Noah's like, this is a graveyard, Ricky.
Getting back to, there are maybe 3 sex scenes or 4. None of them are particularly sexy. When Chance is having sex with that bartender. Basically, the server is performing analingus on Chance.
Yep.
And that man says, he goes, man, I should have been a chef because I love tossing salad. And I just thought, this is not.
The chefs taught, well, I guess salad is part of their repertoire, but
Okay,
that's not the main course. Yeah.
I was howling because we get video of Beyonce's uncle and it's TC Carter.
That's right. Yeah, dying.
Literally dying, talking to Beyonce, but we don't see we hear a little girl going, yes, uncle. And he's like, remember, what does he say? Just be fierce and fabulous.
Yes.
And you know, I'm happy to see TC Carter. He was also in
Andre Leon Taylor
Tally
vibe.
He was TC Carter was in She the People.
That's right.
Season 1 or part 1 of season 1. So the only reason I'd be looking forward to part 2 of season 1 is more TC Carter. Okay. So when Jasmine Guy comes back to pick up the babies and like assess the guys, it seems like things are going pretty well when Esther barges in.
Mm-hmm.
And she is pissed because Wade and Noah forgot to pick her up from her like prenatal appointment.
Mm-hmm.
So she's acting a plumb fool. I do think she is maybe my favorite character, but she's like screaming at them while she's pouring a glass of wine. And I'm like, don't tell me this pregnant lady's about to drink this wine. And they don't even try to stop her. And then she goes, and I can't even have a drink. And then she throws it. And then she notices Jasmine Guy. And that's when Jasmine Guy's like, oh no. But then, so we never do. Oh, okay. I'm getting ahead of myself. So another plot point between Noah and Wade is that Wade's intention, now that Noah's going to work on this Beyonce's uncle pitch, is that he's going to scale back at work. So on the day he goes in to tell his boss, like, I need to like work less, Wade's boss tells him, oh no, I want you to be the main person taking care of Two-Tone Cello. So make that happen. And then all of a sudden, Two-Tone has to move in with Wade and Noah.
That made no sense. Well, because he's a minor.
And then he, who has a 4-year-old son,
and is also on probation for some kind of gun charge.
Yes, right? He likes the trans daughter,
mm-hmm.
and she recognizes him, so she's all excited, and so they start kind of having a little friendship. But I didn't quite understand why. I mean, again, talking about their finances, I don't understand why Wade. I mean, if they can afford to live this lifestyle, why isn't Wade more vocal about, listen, I'm not working more.
Right.
And if that's not cool, then I guess I'm not working. Like, right. Fire me. But instead, he goes along with it. And then Noah becomes engrossed in Two-Tone because he's hearing his story. And also, Two-Tone's really good with the fake babies.
Mm-hmm.
So Noah likes that. But then at a point, Two-Tone gets arrested and thrown in jail. And Wade doesn't want to get him. He's like, I'm over this. I'm not taking care of him. But Noah had already bonded with Two-Tone, so he goes and gets him. And I thought a really crunchy scene is the arresting officer. First of all, Noah is able to go in and talk to the arresting officer and then
convinces him to basically
release this guy who's on parole,
basically,
or
not
probation.
What he does, it would not just be releasing; he would have to shred all evidence of the.
Because he says that, can't you just like doctor the reports?
No.
And then the guy's like, no, the LAPD doesn't do that. And then Noah takes off his like. He was wearing a graphic T-shirt, but it was covered. So Noah like reveals his shirt, and he's wearing a "We Are the Dead" shirt, like his TV show, and it's signed by all the actors. And that arresting officer is like, oh my God, is that a signed "We Are the Dead" shirt? And then this guy gets really awkwardly excited.
Yeah.
And so Noah gives this man the shirt off his back in exchange for releasing Two-Tone. there was no gag there. Like, is this supposed to be funny?
No, but I will say I did think Daryl Stevens had a few fun moments with Two Tone. Like because he's very abrasive with him at first, and I thought he had there was a couple moments of comedic glimmer in there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't feel that, but I respect your opinion. Okay. I did think it's funny that Two Tone has a song called Enlarged Heart. Let's talk about Ricky. I feel like
Ugh.
his character, they needed to write him differently because for people who have never seen the series, Ricky is supposed to be like the sexy one.
He's the thought.
He's the, I mean, yeah, he's the thought of the group. He was the one always like preoccupied with boys, and but years have passed, and
Mhm.
time isn't always kind to all of us. I don't know. I feel like the storyline shouldn't have been, oh, he's still doing the same thing. I should have been him struggling with aging, struggling with not being able to pull the kind of men he used to pull. Because his character is still, at one point, he's in the car with his 3 friends, and he damn near crashes that car to stop and give his phone number to a man running shirtless down the street.
Uh-huh.
And the man is like, yeah, give me your number. And then that's it. We also get a scene at the COVID shot, monkey shot line, monkeypox shot line, monkeypox shot line, where Ricky is basically flirting with every man in line.
Yeah.
And then Noah grabs him like, what are you doing? You can't be doing this while holding my fake baby. And then all of a sudden, Ricky blurts out, I have cancer. Because he goes, I'm not going to be here for very long.
Oh, God.
I have cancer. And then we find out he has testicular cancer. Then we get a scene where he's talking to Noah. And Noah's like, what did the doctor say? Well, they think that chemo or that surgery, my options are surgery or chemo. Okay, well, what's surgery? Well, the best odds are with surgery. Okay, well, you should get surgery. No, because I want both testicles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to look like my balls are weird because I use them a lot.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, okay, so
you can have
I don't know.
You can have a falsie put in,
but what's the point of like bringing these characters back? And then it's like his character shows no growth.
Well, it should be like maybe you need to let go of, because he's still kind of holding on to the same style, and it's like his character arc, Ricky's arc, should have been how do I deal with aging appropriately as a gay man and keeping my dignity, which a lot of people out there probably need to see depictions of people navigating that in our community. But he was reminding me very uncomfortably so of he's like kind of like Antony from the Queer Eye set.
Oh yeah.
The one that everybody thinks is so pretty, and it's like, actually, you're trying really hard.
So Ricky is going on my worst makeup list for 2025.
Oh,
well, worst hair and makeup.
Well,
I think that, I mean, he's just wearing a lot of makeup,
mm-hmm.
and it's not shot very well. And that's not the other issue is that his look doesn't always make sense for what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like the scene at the end, because Ricky makes Noah promise that he won't tell anyone about his cancer diagnosis. But at the end, Noah shows up at Ricky's apartment unannounced, and he's just there moping about with a full beat. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And Noah says, don't be mad at me. And that's when Wilson Cruz, Dr. Vargas, shows up. I just thought, like, okay.
And then Wilson Cruz gives him a hug, and Ricky starts sobbing.
Right. Something else that didn't make sense to me is Noah learns Chance's last name.
Well, okay, so I guess it's his middle initial, because Chance's last name is Counter, and the joke was about his middle initial.
His middle name is like N or Neil or
yeah.
So his name is Chance N Counter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just didn't think that joke was funny. Like, you've been best friends for how long?
And that was
decades, and you just now learned that your friend's middle name is I don't know. It just all feels very like these are very basic, like episodic plot points that just got shoved into a feature film.
Right. And just being set in LA, eventually it just feels so contained. I don't know, like they're never confronted with anything outside themselves, and then everything that we are confronted with concerning them is very superficial.
So Ricky makes a profile for Chance on some dating app. And he's saying, it's been a year, you need to get back out there. And so they start flipping through profiles and they find this 38-year-old guy. I think his name is Taylor.
Yes.
And they go on a date. They go line dancing. And as they're dancing, it seems like they're having a really good time when all of a sudden a song comes on by Olivia Newton-John, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain.
Cold Hearted Snake.
And Chance runs out of the bar. And Taylor follows him like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he's like, my dead husband, that was our song.
And I'm not ready to date.
I'm not ready to date. And then Chance says, oh, well, I'm also a widower.
Taylor.
Sorry, Taylor. And so he's showing pictures of his, I guess, partner who died. And I did think it was cute because Chance goes, I want to hear more about your beloved. And he goes, well, we met at a Janet Jackson themed costume
I knew you
party.
would like that. Mm-hmm.
I was doing Rhythm Nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was cute. I did think though, like, what are the odds that this man who's significantly younger and then also is a widower and
right.
And then yeah, but okay. So Alex and his trans daughter finally reunite because they've been estranged because she's been living with her godfather the entire film. So at the very end, they meet up at the drag bar, Boot Nannies, and they have a moment backstage. Was it me or were you, the way Alex is talking to his daughter about like growing up gay and he sounded like he was like a 75-year-old man.
Right.
But he's not. He
has a very intimate relationship with this child of his.
He's like my age. And he's talking because he's basically saying like when I was young growing up in the South, like there was like you couldn't be out and proud and there was only one person, this person named Boot Nanny, who would come out like dressed how they wanted to, presumably like presented as trans. And so I was so inspired by that person, I named my bar after them. But the way he's talking is like,
but even that sentiment is like, why does this child of yours feel this way? Like, what has happened?
Yeah, I didn't need to hear this story. I need to understand why your trans daughter has this like contentious relationship with you regarding her gender.
Right.
When you are a flamboyant gay male drag queen,
right?
It seems like you'd be the perfect parent. The only thing better would be if you were actually trans as well. Like, I mean, I just don't know. The script doesn't do a good job of explaining how this even makes sense.
Oh, but I forgot to mention Patrik-Ian Polk, as I know it, is a huge Janet fan.
Well,
so that explains that sneaking her in there.
We have something in common. Okay. So there is the final scene of the film is everyone is back at the drag bar.
This was my least favorite scene of the film.
Sure. I would agree with that. And there's this sexy stripper pole dancing and Wade is kind of eyeing him and Noah sees it. So then they get like a private lap dance from him. And then we see like the stripper kissing Noah, I think. Okay, first of all, that scene felt odd because I think there was no mention of them. Like the way Noah's playing it is like, oh, this is a big step in our relationship.
Right.
You two have been together for decades. And like you throughout this film, there's no mention of like maybe your sex life's getting stale or like I don't know why this was significant, but they have this encounter with the stripper.
I think he kisses both of them.
Okay. And then later, after the dance, the guys are sitting holding the two fake babies. No. Sorry, I got confused. So then after this encounter, Esther starts screaming. My water broke. And then she goes into labor. And then Trey, thankfully, is there and he delivers the two babies. And then he goes, wait, there's something else in there. But he says it like, I don't know if Trey's supposed to be a doctor or a nurse. I don't know what his profession is. I'm assuming if he's giving monkeypox shots in the neighborhood, he's probably a nurse
And a baby grabber.
and a baby snatcher. But the way he says it is like, aren't you a medical professional? He's like, I think there's something in there. And he says it like, ew, gross, like that kind of vibe.
Well, doesn't somebody say the placenta?
Well, no. He delivers that third baby. So actually, the lesbian was pregnant with triplets.
There is no way this would be
2 days prior, she was acting a fool because they didn't pick her up from her doctor's appointment. So that means that she has been getting prenatal care or some kind of care. No one detected a third baby.
That is not
and
possible.
We see the baby and it's the same size as the other ones. How is that possible? But after she pushes out the third baby, then someone goes, ew, what is that? It looks, that baby's ugly. And then Trey goes, that's the placenta. Rude. Okay, so they clean up the babies somehow at this gay drag bar.
Those babies look pristine.
And their hair, like we see the one baby and it has a full head of hair and it's fully done.
Yep.
So somehow they washed and let that baby's hair air dry and moisturized it. So the guys are sitting in a booth with these babies and the stripper comes back out because the babies are crying and the stripper is able to soothe them by playing with their ears.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, how did you do that? And he goes, oh, I'm also a nanny. Mm-hmm. And so they look at each other like, oh, this is the
answer to our problems?
The answer to our prayers? I don't know.
Except Noah goes, don't even think about it.
Right. So I guess it's not the answer. And then the final shot of the film is because we see Noah working on his pitch for Beyonce's uncle's story, but we never see him like turn it in or anything. The final scene is he gets a phone call and his phone starts glowing like it did when he received the letter from Beyonce. And then we hear on the phone like Beyonce's assistant saying, I have Miss Carter on the line for you. And then the film ends.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to stop talking. I'm tired.
Okay.
What would you give Noah's Ark the movie?
2.
I don't think this is successful as a motion picture. I would give it 2 out of 5, and that's
being fair. I mean, again, we don't have enough content that features Black queer characters. We just don't. So I think that there is power in its existence, but I feel like at this point, because this has been in Mr. Polk's blood for years. These characters and all of this entire cast. Like, why doesn't it feel stronger than it does?
Yeah.
Why aren't we speaking more to the times, more provocatively? Why aren't we kind of pushing the boundaries of what these characters, really are essentially having to deal with as Black men living in this culture?
Well, that's what you would expect, like, to revisit them. What would they be doing now? Like,
right.
Not like, oh, just make like they haven't changed at all.
Yeah.
I mean, even Ricky, the way he's styled, he's keeping that hair dark and like, it's like he's trying to look like he did.
Like,
so why isn't that a plot point that he's struggling with aging? Or why not have them? I don't know.
Like, if these friends are so close, they're not caring about each other in the ways that matter, such as somebody saying like, hey, sis, we need to do something about this style. It is not working.
Or
anymore.
Even Wade, like he has his cornrows and then he takes them out and like has like an afro and it's, that's what he like. I don't know. It would have been fun to see them evolve a little and be
and talk more realistically about their relationships and sex
and life
and what happens
in
to
2025. And, yeah. All right. Next week, I know we're seeing Megan 2.0
and the new Jurassic Park.
So those are biggins.
Mm-hmm.
Are you reading anything?
Still the Thornbirds.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Ta-ta.